Arganissima, New York. Your exotic skin, hair, and beauty source, and your one-stop shop for all your natural and organic skin and hair care, featuring authentic organic Moroccan oil and prickly pear seed oil and much more. Bringing you only the best, straight from the source and proudly produced in the USA. So what are you waiting for? Shop today at www.arganissima.com. Arganissima, New York. Your beauty is our duty.
Folks, welcome back to the iHealth channel, the FitnessFab channel, iHealth Radio, with your host, Hurricane H. Always a new day, new show, new topic, not so much. It's a similar topic we've discussed before with a different angle, with a different spin, with a different guest, and it is a great day. And my guest today is hailing all the way from Canada, and I'll let her tell us where, because it is a special place. and we're going to talk about fitness, wellness, the whole bit about it. She is a wellness coach. She is a fitness person, a trainer. She does a lot to help people. She's also a writer, an author. She wrote a book, already, and she's got plans to write more. She's been highlighted in a lot of magazines in Canada, and she's with me today. So I am so delighted to have you. I have with me Yana Hempler. Yana, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me on your show.
Oh, my pleasure. And yes, I mean, listen, I first of all, you and I, we had a little bit of a catch up before the show started, and I love that one piece of information that I learned. so let's start with that one. You are from Canada, Western Canada, but specifically from an area that gets barely no snow or none. Let's talk about that, because I can tell you one thing. I mean, as far as I know, most of us, we think that Canada is always surrounded, like bombarded with snow everywhere. I guess I was wrong. Maybe there is, a place that doesn't have that. So where is that?
Right. So I'm in Victoria, BC. So it's Victoria, British Columbia. So BC stands for British Columbia. And we barely ever get any snow. Like sometimes we'll have snow in December for like 2 weeks, but then it melts right away. Or sometimes we'll have a little bit of snow. But anytime that we get any snow, it's like almost the whole city shuts down, basically, because we're not used to driving in the snow. And then, like, I love living here because it's such an active community, because we're able to do many of these fun and exciting activities year round because of the fact that there is no snow, or barely any snow.
Well, it is. Let's just touch on that, because we're talking about the topic of fitness, wellness, and it entails the idea of movement. But I do believe that the winter does collapse people's abilities in a way or the other. I mean, it shouldn't stop people from doing stuff, but it does inhibit some. Can't be outdoors. Even get into a gym, for example, can be nightmarish if you have snow when it's too cold, whatever. Also, it gets ready for you to even get up and dress up and bundle up and go. So it is, a lot of people do get out and make it happen, and they still do rain, shine, whatever. But there are a certain, folks that may not be able to do the activities the way they do them. For example, I can tell you one thing, when it's cold, winter stuff, gloomy, I do my best. I still make it to the gym. I still do stuff. But it is not my best, time when it's beautiful out and the sun, or at least there's no rain, nothing. I can just go out to the outdoors and do this. You get excited. I think that is an impact, ultimately on how we do and how we behave, certainly in our health and wellness. So I love that, because, as you said, it's pretty much a good year over there. And there are a lot of places. Like, I'll tell you one thing. I love the South, whatever the sun. I mean, just give me the sun and I'll be alive. I mean, it's like I'm one of those summer flowers. I just come out in the summer and just enjoy myself. But, winter, I'm just like, oops, I just collapsed. I'm not in a good mood. I mean, I try to be in the best mood. I always try to motivate myself to, and keep, the motivation and the energy going. But trust me, in a summer day or a hot day, I'm a lot more energetic. So can you imagine that? That's crazy.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's interesting that you say that, because there have been some studies done where they say that in the winter, it is a lot more difficult to do anything. And some people get affected by the winter more so than others. So they get much worse moods and much lower moods in the winter. And that happens quite a bit with some people. And so I think that it's great that here we have more of the good weather, even though it does rain quite a bit here in the wintertime, but we don't have to shovel the rain. So that's all I care about.
Well, I mean, listen, winter is winter, right? I mean, yeah, listen, even places that are tropical, they get a lot of rain, even in summer. I mean, it just, get those
Exactly.
downpours. The thing is that it's hot, the energy is there, your body is not really like, collapsing. It just, by the way, everything dilates in the heat, right? So everything is like, the blood flow, everything is like, I think more, active than it would be in I guess a colder area, colder month. Now, again, we're not generalizing. I mean, people that are motivated and inspired and have discipline, they're going to do this regardless, whatever they are. And again, we do want to encourage people to continue doing what they're doing, because again, your immune system, your health, your wellness is attached to your activity and your movement, and doesn't matter where you are. If you can't do it there, then maybe it's time to change locations. But if you can't do it, then you have to make it happen. Indoor gyms are available. There's a lot of places where you can do it. But the idea is just that, do I get up in the morning and want to do that? I mean, that's really what happens when you have a gloomy day. And believe me, I wake up and I see this, the clouds, and it's a dark day. I'm like, oh, it's like a blanket there. I just don't want to come out. but I don't think I'm the only one. I think everybody can relate to this. But when I'm in an area where like you open up and it's bright in the morning and you got sun, and it's not, you just feel like you want to get up and do things. And so it's amazing. And I love what you said about the fact that there are studies. I mean, I was just, shooting out the hip here, but based on my own experience. But I would not, I do tend to believe that, this is a real thing, and you just confirmed it for me. So thank you. And confirmed it probably for other people.
Well, I spent the winter actually this past winter in Alberta, and it was cold and snowy, and we had like -40 weather too. So it was pretty difficult to be motivated, but I still, I have a treadmill at my parents' place, which is where I was for the winter. And, I used the treadmill during the winter, so I still did my runs, and I still tried to run faster and as fast as possible. And, it was still good, but it's just not the same as running outside, that's for sure. Because, I mean, you have the view of the four walls instead of the vast beauty of nature.
Well, I don't care if you have a 3D, a 360, IMAX, theater in front of you. It's not the same. I mean, unless you simulate, the noise, the sound, the actual breath and the air and all the stuff that's in there, the scent, the smell, you're not going to replicate that, right? It's nature is nature. It can't be that. But -40, that's like, ooh, I just think about it like I'm like, getting the shivers here. but
yes, it's like winter coats, long boots, gloves, toques, thick coats. And it's like difficult to move outside, but I still went for a walk outside too a couple of times, and I still shoveled the driveway too, so I got my exercise that way.
It's a tough exercise, I have to tell you. When I have snow and I do that snow business, I come in, literally drenched. I mean, literally, it's amazing. But there are risks of, health risks. People get cardio, issues, when doing this, because you're like so cold, and then all of a sudden you're doing all this extreme, work, and then it does, affect the body. So just always be careful. If you have any conditions, you always check with your doctors before you do any of that. But it is a good exercise. I mean, I've used many of those winter storms, to get a few calories down. So it does help. But you said it. You were there for the winter, but really your life has been in a more active community, and you said it's beautiful because you can do things. And was that what actually motivated to get into the fitness and wellness world?
Well, actually, I've always kind of been interested in it, but I wouldn't say always, actually, because when I was 11 years old, I actually wasn't that into activity, and I actually hated exercise up until I was about 11 years old. So I actually, as a kid, I used to fake feeling bad just so that I would miss out in gym class. But then as time went on, I needed some extracurricular points. So in high school, I signed up for the cross-country running team. And I wasn't doing too well to start with. Like, I was not placing in the top 3 or anything like that. But then over time, I got better, and then I started to place in the top 3. And then I went to provincials for track and field. So that kind of motivated me, is that I saw results, and that I saw that I was getting better, and that I saw that I could be someone who wasn't fit to begin with, that was able to follow a specific process to be able to get in shape. And that was what motivated me, is the seeing of the results. And I know that there's a lot of people who give up when they don't see results after a certain amount of time. And that's very unfortunate, because for me, it took me a couple of years of junior high school of placing in the last category before I was actually able to win zones and place in the top 3 and go to provincials. But that took me quite a while to get there. So like, it's not instant, and it's not an overnight success sort of thing when it comes to fitness. So I don't want anybody to think that, oh, I'll just, I've been sitting my whole life, now I'm just going to get up and I'm going to go and work out and I'm going to run a marathon. That's not how it is. You have to work your way up to the more challenging things. And that's what I like about it, is that the constant ability to push myself, but push myself in the right way, so that I don't hurt myself, and so that I continue to improve, as opposed to just stay the same or plateau or get worse and get burnt out.
Well, so Yana, that is very powerful, and I think we need to spend a little time on that, just because you said it best. People give up easy, and
Yes.
again, we're not generalizing, So if you're watching and listening, this, and you're not giving up easy, kudos to you. But there are a lot of people that might not, see. Well, they have expectations that if they don't see immediate, satisfaction and results, they kind of like, this is not for me, and they just walk away from things. And this is not just about health and nutrition, wellness, and fitness. This could be business. It could be, anything that you really sought after and you want to achieve in your life. If you are not aware that this is going to be a long journey, and there is, I review a lot of these motivational talks and things like that. And one thing always comes up, the journey is really the success part. Is the fact that you're going through this, and the challenges that you're facing day in, day out. And, no, it's not. Because the quick satisfaction of the end, that's like, yeah, I made it. But that's not really what makes you excited about it, is like how long you've been going through it, and every single little step that you see as a small success, like, yes, I did this one today. Tomorrow I'm going to jump up to the next level. And it changes the way you see things, and it gives you that robust, personality that makes you who you are. And then when you get to that top level, now, again, anyone that has been through this will probably not stop. They'll just find out the next level and the next level. In your case, you did the same. But you said it, you were probably not the best at it, yet you said, I'm going to try it. Even though you were in the last ranking, as you stated, that didn't demotivate you. As a matter of fact, it's like, no, I can do more. And so I can do this. That means I can do more. And so now you went and did more, slowly but surely. It took a couple of years. That's the other thing. How long does it take? Nobody knows. Everybody's different. You got to put in the effort. You got to put in the time. And yeah, some people's journey could be 6 months. It could be 2 years. It can be, 1 month. We don't know. Some people go to marathons. You mentioned marathons, and I know you do that. The idea is that they prepare for this, but I've known people who've done preparation in very few months, and some people prepare for years. It all depends on your body. It depends on how busy you are with other things. It's not just for everybody the same way. It's not one size fits all. Everybody's got their own way of doing things. But the idea is, do it. It doesn't matter. What works for Yana may not work for me, and vice versa. But if this is something I want, I should just go for it and do it, and know that it's going to be challenging. It's not going to be easy. See, that's the first thing. Once you accept the idea that nothing's going to be easy in life, that is worth having, worth, a success, and you want to go there, you got to continue. Listen, I've been personally, in the martial arts journey is the same thing. When I started, you see all these black belts, and they're doing all these fancy stuff, and you're like, oh, I want to be like them. You can't be a black belt overnight. You got to take your journey over there and work before you get to that level where you actually now becoming good at what you do and understanding the arts. And that's just an example. In business, the same way. You start something small, and every day, not doing good. Let me do some more. I mean, I give an example of the media or my show, how we started and where it is today. And it's not even anywhere I want it to be yet, but it is getting there. But I see the fluctuation. I see the changes. I've seen the progress. I see all the, where it was and how it looked and where it is and what it looks like now. And I even have a vision of what it's going to look like in the future. But the idea is every single one of those is a piece of enjoyment, and it's a piece of joy, and I enjoy it literally. And yes, it's not easy. So thank you for bringing that, because for everyone that probably like getting to that point is like, I don't know, I'm about to give up. You hear this, you're not going to give up, because this is just the beginning, not the end. But if you decide to give up, that's when we call failure, right? I mean, there is no such thing as failure unless you give up. If you stop, you don't, that's not failure. You're just testing it out. So as long as you're in the test mode, you're good. What do you think, Yana? Am I getting it right?
Right. So, I mean, like, a lot of times people will try something and maybe that activity is not for them. So, like, say, for example, someone doesn't like running, but they tried it and, it just didn't work out for them too well. Maybe their knees hurt, maybe their joints are not good already, or something like that. So they find another activity. Maybe they'll like yoga better, or maybe they'll like pickleball, or maybe they'll like golf or something else. So, like, it doesn't, just because I'm a runner doesn't mean that you have to be a runner too to be healthy. There are so many activities that you can choose to do out there that try everything. Oh man, like, if you could just try as many activities as you want and see which ones you like the best. Because in the end, the only thing that you're going to stick with is the thing that you enjoy. So the only exercise that's right for you is the one that you like and that you enjoy and for which you'll see results. And the only way to see results is to continue and to keep going, even when the going gets tough, because it does get tough every time. So I hope that kind of makes sense, what I'm trying to say.
Oh, it does. And you hit on something important, is that, we were talking about the running piece, your running piece, but that's what you like to do, but some, like to your point, someone could try this. The fact that you stop doing one activity, but shift to another activity, that you find yourself better, that's great. The idea is not to stop, period. That's the thing. As long as you have an alternative, there's many things you can choose. I mean, the sky's the limit of what we can be doing, everything, right? Whether in especially in the fitness world, it's amazing, because I've had many shows about fitness with different modalities, different forms, different schools, different concepts, but they all are about the same, right? But they're different signatures, different flavors, and that's okay. I mean, you go to food, there's a lot of ways to cook the same food,
Exactly. And there's a lot of ways to get to your ideal fitness level. There's a lot of ways to be healthy. And so, like, the more that you get to learn, the more you will realize how much more there is to learn. So, like, never quit after trying just one activity, because there's going to be something else that you'll find that you'll like better. And sometimes it takes a while to find that activity that you enjoy the most. And that's okay too. You're not a failure because you started running and then decided that it's not for you and then switched to tennis. You're absolutely not a failure. You're just a normal human who is got your preferences.
Well, let's talk about the word failure. It is the most, I guess, destructive power that the mind, uses. I tend to believe there is no such thing as failure. Although I define the idea, that's what we call failure when we give up. If you stop everything, maybe, but even that is not failure. It could be just that you stop everything in today and you're going to restart something. The idea is you don't want to think about failure. It should not be a concept that we even talk about. The idea is like, I'm not doing something or I'm not doing something. Is it for me? Is it not for me? And if you start changing your mindset that there is no such thing as failure, I'm just restarting. And that's the other thing. There's no problem about restarting. You can't end. I mean, the thing is, like, if you end everything, it's like, that's like you're dead, right? And by the way, even dead, we don't end. I mean, if you believe in an afterlife, then we continue, right? But so in the same concept, there's nothing that should, be what we refer to as failure. That's, I'm done. You're never done unless you really stop everything and by choice. If that is the choice, I would consider that a success as well, because it was your choice, so that's the thing. It's just how you look at it. But the idea of, you don't even know what you're made of, because many of us, we don't even know what we're capable of until we start something. and then you like,
Exactly.
wow, damn, I can do this. Many like you have no idea what you're capable of until you get involved in something and like, well, and sometimes maybe not the right thing. To your point, you switch. Let me try this. Let me try that. I know I got to do something, and then you're into this mode, and you're going from left to right, and you adjust, you tweak, you adjust, you tweak, and now you got your like sweet spot. This is it. Oh, I'm in the. This is it. I'm a good. I mean, again, a good example. I started in tourism. I wound up in sales and insurance, and then I wound up now in the media. But the idea is, but it's all related. What I learned from my first experiences in life gave me personality that actually guided me through the majority of what I was doing in business. But what I learned in the business drove me to become in the media. What I learned originally about a personality is giving me the media. It's all tied in, guys. You don't know what you're doing today is going to have an impact on everything else that you're going to do. But don't try to figure it out all at once. That's the other thing. Like we want that perfect picture. I can see it. It's already like, it's like there's a proposal, and like where architectures, right? They give you the design. This is what the city is going to look like. Well, that's architectural design. They can do that. They can portray, they can push it. Now, even with that, is it going to look exactly like that? I've seen a lot of, drawings. I've seen a lot of nice stuff, but when you see it in real life, maybe the tile is not looking the same. Maybe the glass is not looking the same. I'm just joking. But, the idea is that there is going to be some variation of what you see and what you plan for day one and what you'll get when you get into the mix of things, right? And that's okay. That's exactly what I'm saying.
And I mean, like when I first started out, like when I was in university in my first year of business school, I couldn't get any kind of other jobs except for cleaning at the gym. So one of my first jobs was cleaning the gym. And so a lot of people might be like, oh, she's just a cleaner. She doesn't know anything. But that allowed me to get a free gym membership. So I was able to get to be active for free, basically, which was pretty awesome. And I was able to get in shape after having restarted fitness again, I think probably for about the third time at that time. So like I know exactly what you're talking about when you say, oh, it's starting and then stopping and then restarting. And I've done it all and I've restarted multiple times over. And it's just, and I'm not afraid to talk about it because a lot of people give up, but I just keep coming back at it. And I just keep coming back. And it's like, no matter what happens, I just want to come back.
You're going to have the boomerang effect. You go, you come back. But you're right. Well, it's funny that you said that. Like, when you think about it, right? First of all, I love your mindset. The idea that you went to a gym just to clean the gym. You didn't look, and even though people look like, what do you know, right? You're just the cleaner, right? By the way, from this platform, there is no, everybody's got a value in this world, and no matter what job they do, without that job, we are not going to have. If you didn't have a cleaner at the gym, you're not going to like to be in the gym, right? So I appreciate everybody in live, and there's just a quick message there. But the idea is, you saw the best of it. You were able to get a free membership, right? So why not?
Exactly, and that was awesome.
And it opened up your fitness, path. It opened up you to being in the gym, to do certain things. And see, like sometimes you don't know why things happen. They happen for a reason. There's always a relationship. We don't know how things are gonna just fall in place, and they do. Sometimes it's amazing how this works. I still cannot figure out, but I don't need to figure out. All I know is that things happen for a reason, and they always work out at the end. That's just how I believe. And so
exactly.
But I don't just believe in it because I see it happening around me. It's happening to me, happening to people. I meet people for the first time and I hear the same stories all over the world. You don't know what starts, what point, and then where it goes. And then when you start adding it up, like I actually did this exercise the other day, I told people watching and listening, and again, same thing today. Take a minute, review your past to date. So basically today is whatever, March 30th or 29th. Is it 29th already?
The 29th.
29th. So time flies. So the 29th, and reverse back to the time that you remember obviously there's a point where we don't remember. We're too small and too young. But when you remember, and then try to see all the events that happened. And I guarantee you're going to see that, well, if this didn't happen, the other one wouldn't happen. If I didn't meet this person, this would not have connected, and so on and so forth. Everything is connected, folks. Everything is connected. We just don't see it that way, and we don't even take the time to review that movie. Like almost take a flash drive, put it or whatever, download the file and click, and then review your life to date, and you're going to start seeing these patterns and be like, my God, this is real stuff. It was not coincidence. The fact that I met you was not a coincidence. The fact that I did this was not a coincidence. The fact that I chose to do this, the fact I failed, the fact I met someone, so it's never a coincidence. And then one thing leads to the other to bring you today. Now, good or bad, by the way, some choices could have led us to the wrong paths or whatever, but it doesn't matter. The idea is that some dots are connecting for a reason, and then the outcomes are going to be based on those different circumstances or sets of things that you've come across in your life. But you did the best, based on the circumstances you had, but you were like, okay, I'm cool. And you know what's funny? Again, that's another message for people. When you look down at people, you never think about the future. You're just looking at this one. I never look at someone and say like, oh, look at them today. That person today can be the best thing and the best person in history. You are an influencer. We're going to talk about that. That person that probably looked at you, said that then, they didn't think about this. They didn't even know that there was going to be something called an influencer in this world, maybe.
No, probably not.
Exactly. So the idea is, people make judgments and they don't realize that everything changes. The world is constantly changing, and you never look at someone and say like, oh, this person's never going to make it. This person, don't judge people. People do what they need to do at the time. They do it for the reasons that they have and the circumstances they're given, period and out, and they'll make it through, and they're going to make their lives move left, right, eventually. It's not up to you to decide for them or to judge them. Even if you did, it doesn't matter. It stays with you. It doesn't impact them, but it does actually sometimes impact if someone gets, demotivated or maybe bullied or maybe gets, a negative vibe, and that's really what I'm talking about. When you talk to someone like that, you might, two things can happen. Either you can spark them to like, boom, I'm going to prove you wrong, damn it. Or sometimes they will collapse and then they'll think I'm a failure. This is done. I can't do nothing. So one way or the other, please don't do that, folks. It's not, you would not want to have that done to you. Don't do it to others. And again, that's just another quick plug here. I mean, again, we're talking, fitness, wellness, and this is all about wellness. It's wellness of the mind, wellness of the body, wellness of the spirit. Your thoughts is part of this too. So again, these are things I live by personally, and I enjoyed these vibes when I talk about these things. It gets pumped, So your experience, you started there, you did this. Then what was your next thing to get you in the coaching business and the real? I mean, you're clearly running coach, and you do other things. You're a certified trainer. You are an influencer, as I mentioned. So let's guide us through that journey. I mean, we got a glimpse of how it started. So, and I talk a lot. So, so this, now it's all you. So tell us about the juice, about your next level journey.
Right. So I think that I've had quite the interesting journey. So like, let's just start from, maybe the time that I was first cleaning the gym when I was, I think I was 19 or something like that. And I was in the second year of university. And at the time, that was like the only job that was able to be worked with my schedule, because I was in a pretty tough program. The Bachelor of Commerce program is not easy. So I needed a lot of time for studying and for doing homework, and cleaning the gym just happened to be the best gig that I could get, because I was able to get the fitness, and I was able to connect with other trainers, and I was able to meet with potential clients if they were open to talking to me about certain things. So then while I was in business school, I decided to take the personal training course through correspondence. So I took that and I passed the exams there. And then I graduated from the business program and then went on to run from Port Hardy to Victoria. And if you don't know where that is, it's basically from one end of Vancouver Island to the other end of Vancouver Island. And I was raising money for different charities, some local charities here. And that event did not get too much, media attention, and it didn't get too much, and it didn't get too many funds either, but I still did the best that I could with it. And then I wrote a book about running and how people can get into running. So that's where the book Hit the Ground Running came to be, is basically just me talking about how to get started running and how people can start to run and improve, and how to run their first 5K and 10K and stuff like that. So then I ran the Boston Marathon in 2015, and I also connected with a gentleman who was an executive at a company that I now work for in supply chain. So my main gig is actually working in supply chain for an aviation manufacturing company. But on the side, I do a lot of fitness and run coaching. But I decided that, I don't want to be like a full-time running coach, because a lot of people drop off and a lot of people give up, and I don't want to have to constantly be hustling. So I only want to work with the people that really want to focus on it, who won't give up. So I'm very selective about who I choose to work with based on whether or not our personalities match, because I'm not here to just take people's money and not help them. I want to be able to actually help people if I take their money. So I'm very careful about whose money I take, because I want to ensure that I can help them before I actually take their money. So like right away, if someone is not a good fit for me, I can refer them to any number of trainers that I've met at different conferences who I think might be a better fit for what they're trying to do. But I specifically focus on beginner runners who want to improve and who won't give up.
Well, so yeah, first of all, you just confirmed what I said in terms of nothing happens by coincidence and things happen for a reason. The fact that you went to the Boston Marathon and you met, your employer, that's exactly, you went to one thing led to the other. Now you have an extra source of income. And that in itself, another item that I want to highlight is because you do your passion. This is what you love to do, but life happens. You need, funding, you need money. You're doing it for the right cause. To your point, you can just take everybody's money and just make this as your primary, source of income, but you're not going to do the quality job that you want to deliver, right? And you will do a disservice to these folks, and ultimately,
Exactly.
Eventually, you're going to lose, that formula. You're going to lose your reputation, so on and so forth. But you do
it because reputation takes years to build and only seconds to break. So this is why I have to be extremely careful with who I take on to make sure that there's someone that's going to be a good fit for my coaching. And I'm not the right coach for everybody, and I'm not afraid to admit that I'm not the right coach for everybody. And I'm happy to pick a really small list of clients that I really, really enjoy working with and who enjoy working with me. And we have a mutual understanding and a mutually beneficial relationship. And that's what, sometimes I find that in the fitness community, there have been some instances of coaches just taking on everybody and thinking that they're everything to everybody, when really you're not. And you have to define your market clearly and then only focus on those clients that are, in your target markets.
Well, listen, people have different, reasons behind how they do I guess there's always,
absolutely.
A concept behind the madness, but the idea is that's to each his own, as we say, but your approach is sound, because to your point, first of all, this is a real thing. There is a product and service for everyone, and there is someone for every product and service, not the same.
Exactly.
Right? So this may not be for me, someone else may be for me. It doesn't matter. To your point, there's plenty. We have choices, and there are plenty of services out there. Like, again, you can listen to this show, you can listen to 10,000 other shows. There's different podcasters, different shows, it's radio, talk shows, TV. Everybody has a flavor, and everybody's got what they're looking for, and they'll find their own, vibe and energy. And that's really what it takes. But you said it, reputation, something you build over time. You can easily destroy it overnight for nothing, right? For greed or for like a quick buck. Not
Exactly.
really anything quality, is not in quantity.
Exactly.
It's almost like, you don't find quantity and quality as equal. Never. Maybe some circumstances, but that I can't think of. But the idea is that we always say we want quality versus quantity, because you can mass produce things, but you don't, the fine pieces of art, they're just unique. The fine pieces in the world, they're unique. People take the time to give you that best of the best of the best. But if you press the button and everything is just like template, boom, 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 you're not going to get. And to your point, you're talking about wellness and health, and you're talking about someone who has a path. They want a certain way to, to graduate into their running concept, and you got to build with them. To your point, somebody else may not be the right fit for them. And you have a certain patients, maybe someone else, they want them to do different crazy stuff that they may not be fit for. So it changes. But the idea is that, you're doing it correctly. And again, folks watching and listening, you do have the ability to select. You test people. If you want a service, you figure out. Again, this is a platform. I've had so many services. I don't endorse any, but they're all great services. because they all have a different angle. You see,
Exactly.
the idea is, you have to select what's good for you. You have to like figure out what this give me, and you put it in a paper. Boom, boom. This gives me A B C. The other one gives me, I don't know, 1, 2, 3, and then you compare. Is this what I want? I want to mix a vote, whatever. And then you pick the best formula that's for you. Whether you want a car, you want a house, you want, a relationship. You look at what is compatible with you and what's going to make sense, and then you apply. That's really it is. Even jobs, people settle for jobs. I mean, I love what you said. You didn't settle for that job when you talked about, the gym. You see, when you said it the first time, anyone that would have listened and we left it off that way, it would have left with like, I was just doing the job, right? That was it. But now when you specify and you say that that was the only job available around your schedule for the studies that you were doing, and they were able to give you the gym, see, it makes a whole job in a different context, and that's really, we don't always know things. We, again, never judge a book by its cover. That's exactly what it is. We hear one thing and we make all the story ourselves. It's like if I tell 2 words, to all the audiences right now, and I say, go, they're all going to have a different version of that story. Guaranteed.
Right. Of course.
Yeah. Now, and then I'll tell you like, what was the back end? Oh, we didn't think about that. Maybe someone would, but the idea is you never know. So because we don't know, we don't judge, we don't make the full picture. We might have our own picture, and that's okay. We are entitled to our opinion and to our own views. But the idea, when we judge and we make already a determination as to what's the reason behind, nobody knows what the reason behind, people's reasons, except the people that actually initiate whatever they do in the action. You cannot read my mind of why I'm doing what I'm doing. I cannot read your mind of why you're doing what you're doing. Anyone watching and listening right now, you probably cannot. You can even judge us, but even if you did, you have no idea. Like, for example, does anyone right now know where I see me in 5 years? No, I don't even know.
That's true. I don't think a lot of us know.
Yeah, exactly. I don't even know what I'm going to be tomorrow. But the idea is, I do have quite an idea what I want to do to get whatever. But even that is not a clear picture until tomorrow.
Exactly. I wrote this list of like 53 things that I hope to do between now and the time that I turn 65. And then people might think that I've gone off my rocker when they first read the list. But then I think, you know what? Maybe I have all the time to be able to get those things done and actually like tick those boxes. And that's what I want to do. But some people might look at my list and they'd be like, oh, that is definitely not what I want to do. That is like the opposite of what I want to do. And that's totally fine. It's whatever, makes them happy physically and emotionally and mentally, and that's what matters, is like what's good for someone's mental and physical health. And for me, for my mental health, it's running, and it's all the different running things that I want to do between now and the time that I turn 65. But some people probably don't want to think that far ahead, or they're scared to think that far ahead, or maybe they just want to fly by the seat of their pants, and that's fine too.
Well, so 2 schools of thought there, right? So the ultimate reality is this: the past is gone, right? We can't change it.
Exactly.
Today, the only moment that is real is this moment. You and I are here right now. We know it's happening. We're talking, right? Unless the power goes off or one of us, I don't know, something collapses. But the idea is, we don't know that. We exist in the moment, right?
Exactly.
The future is something that we know exists with us or without us. I mean, people may not be here tomorrow, but it doesn't matter. We have to be aware that that's the future, and we don't have guarantees in the future. We know we have ideas of what we want to do. To your point, you have a wish list of things, a bucket list of things you want to check off. Your and there's nothing wrong with that. Now, that checklist and mine may be total opposites. That's okay too, to each his own. But the idea is that and by the way, the time frame, you put yourself from now to 65. Someone who says, I want to do this before I get 50. Who cares? It's your formula, folks. You're the captain of your ship. You run your show. This is your thing. And you have the ability to assign these tasks to yourself as you want. But then again, you still got to take one moment at a time. You have to go through today to get to tomorrow. Then tomorrow becomes the new today, and so on and so forth. So every day is a new day. You and I started the discussion, and you said something, about the day. What was that you said earlier?
Oh, I think I said something like every day is a great day.
Yes, and that's a concept that we have to live with, right? Every day should be a great day. We say good morning. Why are we not saying great morning, people? Imagine if we say, hey, great morning, folks. How you doing? As opposed to good morning. it's a simple change. Obviously I'm not asking to change the culture here, but it's how you say things. And you said something earlier also before we started the show about the mind, what you
Oh,
hear.
yes. What the mind can believe and conceive, it can achieve.
There you go. See, those are quotes that actually we can live by as concepts. And you repeat that for our audiences, please.
Right. So whatever the mind can believe and conceive, it can achieve.
So believe, conceive, achieve, right? So it starts with believe. You believe in yourself. The fact that you run marathons, you've believed in yourself all along. You never give up. So that's a powerful thing. We all have to believe in ourselves, regardless of what the world believes in us or not. Because that's the other thing.
Exactly.
Your own parents, your own family, your own friends may not believe in you more than you do. And they shouldn't. The only one that matters the most is you. And this is not being selfish. This is being, grounded. This is me, and everybody is me.
With regards to your friends and things like that, what I was going to say too is like, if your friends don't support your dream, get new friends, but not a new dream.
Oh, I love that. I love it. Yeah. But you're right. A true friend will support anything that you'll be doing. A true friend will be there in the journey. A true friend, even if you fall, they'll help you and guide you. And so if they're not doing that, to your point, maybe they're not true friends, or they're there for a reason or any other reason that then being there for you. Maybe they're there for themselves. But again, we're not judging, but we all know what we're talking about here. This is not a secret, folks. We all have friends. We all know who is what, where. And sometimes if we don't, maybe it's time to wake up and smell the coffee, as they say, and check it out. Because if they're not showing commitments to you, they're not really there for you. And if they disappear at the first, obstacle that you encounter or fall, they shouldn't have been there in the first place. So choose wisely. And most of these successful people will tell you, you need to surround yourself with innovators, with people that have great minds, with people that will support you, with people that nourish your ideas, not the people that just going to suck your blood and blame you or always point the finger like, well, you can't do this, boo-hoo, you're not going to do this. Who you think you are? Many people tried before and didn't make it. I don't care what people did before. You see, that's where the belief. I just believe in me. And yes, my drops, my falls, my back, my reverses. Again, I don't want to choose the word failure. Whatever it is, it's not stopping me. The only thing that's got to stop me if my body has stopped moving or I'm in a grave. That's it. But other than that, I'm going to keep going. And so that's the belief part that you said. Then conceive. Yeah, you believe in yourself. You believe in your mission. You believe in stuff. But now you start the conception of it. You got to start building that whole, picture. You got to build the plan. Again, when we said tomorrow is not here, and you said about all the stuff that you want to do, it's the fact that you want to plan the future. Whether it happens or not, it's irrelevant, but you got to have a plan in play. Now, the plan is not going to be perfect. That's where we go about that picture. This is not like you can have the picture of what it's going to look like. But in the journey, you're going to start changing things. And that final picture, guarantee, if do this exercise, folks, and trust me, I do this. Take a picture of where you are today, of whatever you're doing, if it's a business, whatever, and just save that picture, and then come back a year later, and you're going to see that. Compare the two pictures. It's going to be a whole different picture. Do another 5 years, and it's going to be a whole different picture. And things will change because your mind today is using the information that it has today. The information is going to evolve in time, and you're going to learn more tricks and more tips, and you're going to change things. You're going to be meeting other people. And things are going to shift. Maybe to your point earlier, you can change the whole concept from one thing to the other. So you don't know, but put a plan. It's part of that conception, right? Conceiving the whole thing and ultimately achieve. So that is the quotes that you just run right now with us in this show are literally formulas of success. If we apply them in life, anyone watching and listening, use those as your anchors. Those are your pillars. I need these as part of my foundation to be who I am, to drive me where I want to go. And you will get there, folks. This is, if you believe in yourself, nobody can stop you. You are invincible. It is almost impossible not to do the possible. The possible will always win. It's always possible. You have the ability to do this. So you cannot possibly say, I'm not doing this. You have this. And you did, and you're helping people. So how many people today you have transformed their lives?
I'd say there have been at least like maybe, I don't know, a few hundred or something like that, just because I'm very selective of who I work with and all that. But
But
you
yeah,
know, and then who knows, maybe they'll help other people too. Maybe they'll inspire others to get going, and maybe one of the people who was training with me inspired their friends to get active, and now they're active in a group together after they're done my program. So like, I'm not sure what they do after they finish my program, but typically, it seems like people do go on to enjoy active lives after that, because I help them figure out what is it that they mostly enjoy doing, and then we can kind of direct them from there.
well, Yana, this is beyond the comprehension, because you said a few hundred, right? Even if it was 10 people, even if it's one person, that's one person that you helped become better, changed. And now, to your point, that one person is going to help maybe two, and those two they're going to help four, and so on and so forth. It's a ripple effect. That domino effect, you're not going to see it, and you don't even see the fruits of it until, like, you probably wouldn't even know. I mean, we're doing this show. This is going to download all over, today, tomorrow, next year, 10 years from now, hundreds, maybe thousands of people, maybe millions. I don't know. Wishful thinking. That's all good. But the idea is someone's going to share this message with someone, and it's going to go, and it's going to go, and it's going to go, and it's going to find somebody who's going to absorb this and use this, and then use that with other people. And you don't know the impact that we have on each other, and the results that you get. Talking about achieving, that's the ultimate satisfaction. And it's sad because we don't even get to figure it out. We never know what the impact is, good or bad, actually, by the way. If we do bad, that same ripple effect is just going to downfall to other people's, and just going to change their lives in a bad way. But so I'm talking about a good impact, when you're doing something good to help people improve their lives, their lifestyle, their mindset, they're just being, enjoying life. And so it is powerful. And that's something that you've done through your journey. And again, I'm selective, but that's okay. Because, if let's say you do this randomly, right, and just pick people at random, and you don't give them your heart and put them into a real program, and then you give them the 100% foundation, to your point, besides reputation, they're not going to take enough to actually generate enough from themselves. They're just going to be missing things, and therefore that's not going to be a full picture. It's like having half of the ingredients, that the stuff is not going to come up nice.
Exactly, especially when you're baking a cake. If you have half the ingredients and you bake a cake, and then it just doesn't rise or worse.
Yeah, but you're right. But that's the thing, right? Again, by the way, I mean, these are not concepts that are new. You probably heard these things. Sometimes we talk about things that in the discussion, and it's a constant reminder to ourselves and to everybody that's watching and listening, that we might hear things, we might see things, but it's the constant reminders that we hear and see. It's like, again, it's got to be in your mind. It is in your subconscious somewhere. Sometimes you probably heard this 10 years ago. It's there, but guess what? You hear it again, oops, it comes right to the front. And now you take action. So again, those are things, but people like you are helping generations to come, and you're doing it because you love what you do and want. Two is you're doing, by the way, I want to ask, how many marathons did you run?
How many marathons did I run in total in my life, or how many marathons did I run in a row for charity?
Well, so we're going to do both. So in general, if you bulk, I mean, I don't know if you know exact number, but let's talk about just that, because that's like how many people you've been involved with in life. You've either somehow talked to, and when you talk to someone, the impression that you leave with someone stays with them. So you talked about the people that you help, like a few hundreds, that you work with. If you don't know how many people you've encountered in life that you've actually influenced one way or the other, because that leads us to the influencer piece of you. And we want to take a minute to talk about that. So how many in general, how many that you've done through charitable work? Because again, that's the other thing. I mean, you talked about you doing running for charity reasons. And, we want to take a minute as well to talk about that. What does that mean? I know you mentioned, the specific one that you did, when you started, but let's talk about that whole concept.
Yeah, so
that's a lot of questions.
So I've always been interested in doing as much as I possibly can for local charities to help them. And I picked the Victoria Hospitals Foundation because they raise funds for life-saving equipment for our hospitals. So I think that that's a very important cause, and I feel like, there's always opportunities in healthcare and stuff to make it better. And so that's why I chose the Victoria Hospitals Foundation as my main charity that I do a lot of fundraising for. So the first time, so in 2020, when all my races got canceled, because I was supposed to go to the Chicago Marathon, but that got canceled due to COVID. So then in the summer, I had my 2 weeks of holidays, and I thought, why not raise money for the Victoria Hospitals Foundation? So in 2020, I ran 12 marathons in 12 days, and that raised about $20,000 for the Victoria Hospitals Foundation. And then a year later, in May of 2021, I ran 30 marathons in 30 days to raise money for the Victoria Hospitals Foundation, and that raised almost $100,000.
Well, wait, hold on, time out. Wait. Did you just say 12 marathons in 12 days? That's like one marathon per day?
Yes, for 12 days. That was the first wild idea.
Well, no. Yeah. Well, so that's the first one. The 30 days, that's another one. I mean, but let's just get into that one, because the average person cannot run a marathon in their life. Sorry, but I don't know if I can run a marathon. I mean, I think I can if I put myself into it. Everybody can if you work towards it and you run and you prep to it. So I'm not saying I can't, but the idea is, we don't think about it. Like a marathon requires a lot of energy in one day. I mean, you're probably going to be drained the next day, but you did it like it's a lot of miles on a day-to-day basis. It's like how long does it take you, by the way, to run a marathon? 3, 4 hours, 2 hours? What's your time?
Right. So for me, my best ever time was 3 hours and 18 minutes. That's when I only do one marathon, and I was actually training specifically for speed. But when I was doing the 12 marathons in 12 days, I was doing them a lot slower than that. So I was doing them in about 4.5 to 5.5 hours. And same with the 30 marathons in 30 days. It was also doing them in 4.5 to 5.5 hours, so that I'm able to slow down and so that I'm able to recover for the following day. Because if I tried to flat out race it, then I wouldn't be able to recover for the next day.
Well, listen, I mean, 5 hours on a day. I mean, you watch a soccer game, and you look at these guys running for an hour and a half, back and forth. Sometimes, like in the World Cup, they went almost 2 hours, and they're like completely drenched and drained. 5 hours of constant movement and nonstop, and then you take a break, and then you get all the electrolytes and do all the stuff, and then get some energy. Probably a lot of pasta, I don't know. And then you start the next day. Is that even a true thing, like pasta for marathons?
Oh yeah, I love my carbs. Like, that's one thing that I can say, is that I love my carbs. And when I was in Alberta, I baked quite a lot of cakes, and I was eating them, and then I'd go on the treadmill and run. But I definitely enjoy the carbs. It's one of my favorite foods. Well, pasta.
For you specifically, I mean, your body is going to go through carbs like it's going through, it's just air. You need all that, sugar business, not sugar, but you need the calories.
Exactly.
Like, I'm not a big fan of sugar, but in your case, obviously, if you eat pasta and you don't do marathon, that's not good for you. But you need the fuel. It's what it is. It's your fuel to keep you maintained. Throughout the journey of the 4 or 5 hours that you're going to be running. But 12 days and then 30 days back to back. So you get up, so do you do them in the morning, that kind of thing? And then you kind of relax the whole day, afternoon, night, and then you start again. What's that formula look like? Because I'm just curious, because I mean, I'm sure someone's there like, what the hell, 12 marathons? I mean, they do one a year. You're doing 12 in 12 days and then 30 in 30 days back to back. I mean, that's the crazy. I mean, by the way, kudos to you, because that is it should be some sort of Guinness record or something, because I don't know if someone have ever done that.
Well, actually, it's not a Guinness record. It's a Canadian national record for females for most consecutive marathons so far. It's unofficial, though. I haven't been able to make it official. But
I'm serious. I don't think there's a Guinness record for back-to-back marathons. Is there?
There is. Actually, there is.
Oh, there is.
Like over 100, and I don't think I'm ready to do that just yet.
100 back-to-back.
Yes, over 100 back-to-back. Yes, there was a woman that did over 100 back-to-back marathons, and that was the Guinness record. And
Hey,
Kudos
listen.
to her, much respect, because like I did 30 and I thought that was a lot, but then I see other people doing 100. And again, you might be listening to the show and you might think like, oh my goodness, she did 30. And then, oh my goodness, wow, I can't believe someone did 100. But it's like, it's whatever makes you happy and whatever makes you push yourself. And maybe one day I will try for 100 marathons in 100 days, but you never know. Maybe.
Well, listen, you got to do 101, and then you're the next hit.
Just gotta see what happens.
Yeah, listen, we're talking about that's the future. We don't know. It's an idea.
Exactly.
Ideas sometimes are there to act on, and you will do. But the mere fact that you went, first of all, the idea of doing it, this was more about you and your success piece of it. But the success is not so much what you did, is who you did it for. I mean, you're raising funds for hospitals to get equipment and stuff to help people, and that is awesome, because again, you're doing this for a higher, I would say, I guess, calling, right? And it's the greatest thing you have. I mean, talk about satisfaction and really joy. I'm sure that when this is over and you get all the fund. I mean, I know you mentioned the first one didn't have a lot of funds, but the idea over time, things are happening and you are generating more and more buzz and more money. And these hospitals are getting the resources that they might need. I'm assuming these are not, they're private hospitals, or they're government hospitals? Private.
They're not private hospitals. So like we have a publicly funded healthcare system, but still a lot of the hospital equipment is still funded by donors. So it's kind of like a combination of both, right? So the last one, though, the 30 and 30 marathons, that raised almost $100,000. So I was pretty proud of that, considering that the very first time I did a charity run in 2013, which was the Island Run, it only raised a few thousand. But this one, it raised much more than that.
Well, listen, if you raise a dollar, it is still a dollar that you put sweat and blood and time. And, it was for the right cause, and it's going to help people. And again, talking about leaving a legacy, this is your legacy. This is something that is in the books. This is historical. This is something that deserves, all the thank yous and the kudos and everything, because this is you. Nobody's telling you to do this. This is your dream come true. This is your personality, coming to fruition, and just, almost becoming, in the society and doing part. And by the way, historically, if you look at all the great folks that have ever been here, they did things, that they felt good about, but they did it for the purpose of doing for the people and sharing and doing something good that will always be there. Some of these, how many lives could have possibly been saved with your 100,000? We don't know. If someone needed something urgently and there's a machine now that's able to help them, and now they have a better, maybe they can walk better, they can see better, they can do something better, or they're just healthier, period, that's priceless. So that value that you've brought in, or even the joy of that person and their family and their loved ones, that joy is different. It's not something that you can purchase. There is no price to that, right?
Exactly.
But so the impact that you have is just unbelievable. So thank you for doing what you're doing. I guess you have to continue doing that. Yeah.
I definitely am continuing doing that, actually, because, well, it's interesting because I actually got kind of sick in late 2022, and I was sick for quite a while, and I actually didn't think I was ever going to be back to running. So I actually just restarted running in just this year again, and now I'm running the Chicago Marathon 2023, or that's the plan, is to run the Chicago Marathon in October. And I'm once again trying to raise money for the Victoria Hospitals Foundation just on my own. Like, I have a fundraising page up, and it's just about seeing who can help the hospitals. And I'm paying my own way to go to the Chicago Marathon, so I don't get a free entry or anything like that for doing this. I just do it because I want to, and because I think that it's important, and because I want our healthcare heroes to benefit from the fundraising.
Wow. Well, so a quick question, did come to mind. And you kind of answered it a little bit. You talked about the healthcare system in Canada, we all think that, it is like in the US, we admire it to a degree because, we think Canadians have free healthcare, right? and we don't have it in the US the same. And yet here we are, you're talking about, hospitals who need support, who need equipment. And that's just one hospital. I'm sure the system in its own eventually is going to need some action, some support somewhere. And that's actually unique. I mean, just to know that it's happening. So even if you think that everything is peachy, there's always something that's missing in the picture. We don't get to see that all the time. Like, when people judge like, oh, Canada has the greatest, system, and again, compared to, US, we have healthcare, or some people refer to it as sick care. And, I'm not judging, but because you only go when you're sick, because otherwise it's not, a system. And yeah, it costs money. It's very costly. But people don't realize that you guys pay a lot more taxes in Canada than the American people, for their health. So all the stuff, there's a price that's paid by someone, and it doesn't make the system 100% correct or the best, regardless of how you look at it. It's just different angles. The best healthcare system will be where you really get the top notch of everything with zero cost, and it's prepaid by your local government. I guess in the Scandinavian countries, maybe they have that level. But even that, I'm not sure. But
they also pay higher taxes than we do. So
50%, I heard, or something. Yeah,
that's a trade-off that you have. You either have high taxes.
The idea is that you shouldn't even pay taxes. I mean, technically, your country has resources, and just a percentage of that should be dedicated to that stuff. But it doesn't work that way, obviously. This is wishful thinking, and people probably would crucify me for this. What's wrong with you? You want the government to print money? Well, they do it for other reasons. Might as well, for health. I think that's worth something. But no judgment here. But the idea is, it's amazing that you just throw that in there. But I wanted just to highlight that because people have this idea that Canada's doing terrific in their health, but you're right. Equipment, who's going to pay this, who's that? There's always things that can be probably, if it's on a budget, you're going to have the budget on everything, right? If it is, a limited, resource, and yes, everybody's going to access for free, then there's not enough revenue. Therefore, you're going to have limitations on the services. And I know I've had a whole show about U.S. healthcare versus Canada healthcare. With one of the experts, and the concept is that regardless of how you look at it, there is no perfect system to date that we know of, and even to your point, it might be perfect in the delivery, but it's not perfect in the funding, and so it doesn't make it perfect because somebody is losing, at the end of it, and you have to sacrifice one versus the other. So it is challenging. So
the perfect system is one that takes care of you before you get sick, so that you never are allowed to get sick in the first place. Well, that would be ideal, so that we never experience sickness.
So you know what that system would look like? It would be where we eat all fruits and vegetables directly from the farm, no pesticides. You don't have pollution. You live in. That's going to be like almost one of those movies, type of things. Because the reality that we have, that world has gone. I mean, it's unfortunate. We live in a society that even if you create a system that has fewer everything, you have so many things attached to your health, and so it's it's like the ideal world, to your point, where there is no sickness. There is no. I mean, people can get sick, but you will prevent it 100%, or 99% with all the elements. And so, yeah, if you get sick because of age, you get sick because of some other reasons, but from bacteria infection maybe, but not because of the way we eat or the way we live and lifestyle and crazy. I mean, look, people are sick through stress. I just had a show about cancer, and one of the triggers of this, is stress. I get the joke all the time. Like, why you talk about, you started with health, this is the iHealth channel. And, but you talk about different topics. And I'm going to ask the question now too. Can you name something that does not affect your health, mentally or physically? If you can, please send me an email and tell me what it is, because I'd like to talk about it. Because at the end of the day, your business, your life, your friends, your world, the politics, everything impacts us one way or the other. If it's not from our psyche, it's a physical effect or impact. Your job does affect. So therefore, it's all impacting our health. And so at the end of to your point, I had a guest who literally referred to it as a sick care as opposed to health care, because you're right. It is designed for when you're sick, not designed to prevent sickness or to be there, to give you the tools not to actually wind up in a hospital. I mean, we have systems. Like, for example, I am in the insurance world, and we do preventative medicine and things like that, which basically encourage people to do their checkups and do the stuff and the wellness and so on, to make sure that everything is you're always current with your status. So you don't wait until it's too late and then you end up in major catastrophic, type of situations. But even that, it is just I would say just a formula that is not accurate, because it is still not clean 100%. Because to be clean, you have to have zero, very limited impact from the lifestyle that you have. Your work demands that you actually drive from, 6 o'clock in the morning to like 12 o'clock at night or 11. You're doing 12-hour shifts a day. I'm not talking about the actual work, but between leaving, and commute and coming back, getting stressed out, all that stuff is simple. You're working 5-6 days a week. The mortgage is waiting on you. All this stuff is actually affecting our health. The food we eat, you can't find today real fresh food, you could, but it's limited. And it's costlier. So all these things are existing. So to your point, it is unbelievable, but that's the way with it. Like you started with the idea of we need a preventative healthcare where people are not sick. We'll have to go about 100 years ago, or maybe 200 years ago, when people lived learning in nature.
Wishful thinking.
Hey, listen, I mean, the reality is, like we said earlier, the past is the past. We can't do anything about it. We live to the moment. So, but everyone can make the difference with themselves. And
exactly.
So you do a healthy living lifestyle. You look at your food. You look at your activity. You look at things. You decompress. You don't get stressed out. So everyone can make the difference. And I think if we all did our part and helped ourselves, and in our immediate environment, we can impact the larger environment. And if we did that, I think we will have an environment where there's less sick people. But like I said, there are not conspiracies, but theories that, if there are no sick people, well, then the system collapses, right? I mean, there's no healthcare, there's no, pharma, there is no this, there's not. So there's almost like economics that affect also these reasonings behind, what things are the way they are. They have industries that cannot, survive if we all eat fresh fruits and vegetables, right? So those are the things that we are beyond at this point. Now, will that ever change? We don't know. Maybe, only the future, holds the secrets, and we don't know those secrets until we get there. But again, we start with ourselves, what we can do internally, what we can do with our own selves and our immediate families and friends and circles. And then we are small, particles in this huge world. And if we actually do our part, maybe it's all going to be better. And that's that. So now let's talk about your influence. We're on the top of the hour, but this is great stuff. You're an influencer in Canada, correct?
Yeah, you could say, I guess, like at some point people will say influencer. And I think that, it is an interesting word, because 10 years ago it didn't really exist. So like influencer just means that you're influencing people to do something. So like there's people who claim that I've inspired them to start running, or that I've inspired them to sign up for their first marathon or something like that. So in that way, I'm an influencer. Now, I know like there's some people who will say that, oh, you got to have X amount of followers to be an influencer, or you got to be a celebrity to be an influencer. But the truth is, you don't have to be either of those things. You just have to inspire a few people to do something, and then you're an influencer within your group. So like, that's kind of how I define the word influencer.
Well, actually, the reason I'm asking is because you're bringing a great point. It is at the core is exactly what you just said. You're influencing a certain amount of people, to be better, to do better. And by the way, influence can have good and negative vibes. It's not all influence is good. I mean, we have influencers that actually doing things or showing things or teaching things that may not be good. I mean, this whole debate about TikTok was because you have people are committing suicide and doing things because of, action that is by certain influencers or challenges that could be on social media. In the social media context, influencers are people who have influence on others. They just have a higher reach. But every one of us can be an influencer. And I think that's really the core of today, is that, there is the social media contest of who is the actual influencer and how we define them. But that is not different from you as an individual talking to us or listening or watching or in the show today. Doing something in your life, you are by the way, we all influence everyone around us one way or the other, either good or bad. Your behavior is actually the influence on your environment and your entourage. Now, if you
and
have
also your environment has an influence on you too.
Oh,
so
yes.
if you have 10 friends that all like to play video games and watch TV and stuff their faces with junk food, then chances are you're probably going to be doing the same thing. Now, if you have, 5 friends who love to be active and love to go hiking and skiing and running and tennis and all that kind of stuff, then chances are you'll probably be active too. So your environment also has an influence on you as much as you have an influence on your environment. And that's something that I just kind of thought of right now.
But that's right on point, because again, it's not a silo world. You're not living by yourself. You exist and coexist. And so everything that we do influence everything around us, and everything around us influence who we are. From the minute you are conceived and born in this world to the minute you depart this world, there is an exchange of ideologies and vibes and frequencies and behaviors that you are taking or given. And any given moment, those are either good or bad, and therefore you are making a change, good or bad again. So what we are trying to do is to keep the positive influence running with positive messaging, with positive, inspiration and motivation stuff, and really stories that are truly, success stories that can get people to be on that positive note. And that's all there is. And, but if we do our part individually, we can change people around us. And to your point, the way to change those that are not good for you is not be with them. Simple. You eliminate that basically relationship, and then maybe they'll be like, well, what's wrong with Yana? She's not longer Yana. What's up? Well, listen, John, if you want to, be in my circles, you got to get into my circles. This is how we roll here. And so that could be the reason they change them. They may say, what, who the hell you think you are? You want to change my ways? Like, I don't want to change anything. I said, if you want to be with me, you can join my realm. If not, good luck in your world. It's cool. I mean, we're not judging here. I'm not telling you to change your lifestyle, but I'm telling you, if you want to be in my circle, this is what I expect. That's all. And right, same thing. You actually asking it the same, right? You want me to be with your circle and follow your way. How's that? Is that accurate? There you go. So you understand the concept. So what I'm trying to say is very simple. We have the ability to change lives and change ourselves, and maybe have that influence. And yes, the social media influence piece is a larger scale. And yes, people do it, and they have a say because people do follow them. They do follow. If I say that, this is the greatest thing happened since sliced bread, well, guess what? People may believe that, right? I may be wrong. That's the thing. Like, you got to be selective of what information you get, who you get it from. Not everything is always what it looks like. There is power of marketing. There is power of, industries. There's power of things that are, that can portray certain things at a certain way. We had a discussion the other day on the cancer discussion with about the Marlboro Man. And again, no beating down on the nicotine, tobacco industry, but that was like a flavor of the 70s and 80s, or maybe beyond, but I don't remember when that started, but the idea is like, that was the coolest thing, right? But that's influence. People see as like, I want to look like that guy, but that's not, that was the messaging was in terms of showing you what's good for you, but it wasn't good for people. Eventually we find out, including the tobacco companies, they realized that was not the right thing. And now we have these signs that says, it kills, right? So the concept of influence we're not just sponges. We're just not going to take everything that we want. We are like a smart sponge. We should have like, a shield to absorb what we want and reject what we want. And that's how we're supposed to, act in life. But not everybody has that ability. So again, this just remind us, these discussions that we have are kind of opportunities to share some value, and hopefully this is an influence in a positive mode. And that's all there is. We don't want fame about it. We don't want anything, but we want to drive some. We believe it's good. Now we might be wrong. And if you believe we're wrong, you don't have to follow us. That's the other part. You have a choice. No one is forcing anyone here.
Exactly. And like, if you don't want to run, then don't run. And I guess we just can't hang out.
That's right. Run again. Listen, to each his own, right? It's
Exactly.
there's running clubs, there's running flavors, there's running, entourages and groups and services, just like there's groups of everything else, right? But yeah, it's what's for you. If it's good, it's that. It doesn't matter. The idea is that you do what's good for you, what you love, what's going to be constructive. And again, whatever that means, and again, here, take it for what it's worth. Good, bad, ugly, you have a choice. If you're watching and listening, no one is telling you to change your life, but we know what's good, we know what's bad. If it affects you negatively, it's bad. If it affects you good, positive is good. Now you might think, well, I'm high on drugs and I feel good, but do you really know that is actually, you can say that. I mean, some people can be argumentative. People argue about everything, right? Well, no, I'm good. I like my drugs. Well, then that's cool. You like your drugs? Have fun. Enjoy.
You like your drugs, but we can't hang out if you like your drugs because I'm not into drugs. So sorry about that. And that's okay. But I'm not judging, if that's how you want to have your fix, then that's okay. But it's just that, I just can't hang out with people who do that kind of stuff. And that's totally fair to everybody. And like the people who do that kind of stuff probably don't want to hang out with me anyways because I'm boring.
That's right. And again, when you go from that base, a foundation that you have your choice, I have my choice, we're cool. We're just trying to give you a different way. And again, it is an opinion. It is our opinion. It is how we see it. You don't have to see it the same way. I always say this, I see these things on social media where people are like, well, you're doing this wrong. You're doing this stuff. Dude, if you don't like what you see, just scroll down and up, move on. You don't have to even comment, switch off. If I'm watching TV and I don't like something on the program, and guess what? I just switch the channel. I don't have to go to, you don't go to CNN and start commenting on their feed and say like, you suck, CNN, or by the way, I'm not making fun of CNN, just an example. But you look at Netflix or in a movie and you're like, you have choices, action, movie, horror, whatever, pick one. You don't like it, switch the other one. Same thing here. You don't like Hurricane, don't watch the Hurricane show. You know what I mean? It's the same concept. That's the thing. People have the ability to decide what's good for you, period and out. No one is forcing anything on anyone.
Yeah. Everybody's got free will.
To a degree. I mean, we can have a discussion about free will, whether we have 100% or not. I mean, we just talk about entourage and systems and other things that do dictate how you you just have to find your way. Like, you got to maneuver, the environment and you probably wind up doing your own thing. But it's more difficult today than ever because there's just so much stuff that's going on around us. But Yana, it's been real. So let's talk about, we're at the end of the show. What would be some of the best advice? And by the way, you gave us some real stuff on this show that we can live with for the rest of our lives and apply some of these things. And whether we run or not, I think some of the good stuff that came out of this discussion is so powerful that people can apply it and become, better and have visuals, that are different from what they may have today. But what would be our best advice to keep, to leave our audiences with today?
I have to say, probably no matter what your crazy idea is, do not give up. And just remember that whatever you have in your mind, you can achieve it, provided that that's something that you genuinely want to do yourself, that no one is forcing you to do. So go out there, follow your dreams, and do the best that you can, and try to even help just one person, one act of kindness, do anything to help others, and you'll be golden.
I like that. All right. Well, Yana, it's been real. It's a true pleasure having you on the show. We had fun. This is the kind of discussion that I enjoy myself. And so I did talk a lot, but sorry about that.
I talked a lot too. I'm very talkative.
Listen, that's why we do what we do, right?
Exactly.
But so thank you so much for being, with and, sharing your story, your work. And I know you're going to be writing some books, so we'll keep posted with you. And hopefully when you get the next book coming up, let's talk again, come back.
Absolutely.
And maybe we can talk about after you do your next big deal. You do the Chicago, maybe you do some next funding, fundraiser, and we can have some fun with that. Come on. Absolutely. And we'll talk about it. Yep.
It was such a pleasure being on the show, and thank you so much for having me. And I look forward to sharing with more people.
Yes. Well, and I know you will, and more people will be influenced correctly. So to say. All right. Well, thank you, Anna. And folks, I
Thank
hope
you so much.
you're welcome. Folks, I hope you enjoyed being with us today and the discussion. And we'll be talking soon. New day, new show, topic. Bye for now.